Welcome back to Little Faith. I'm very excited today to talk to one of my very best friends, Sara Schlageter. How are you doing, Sara?
I'm good.
I've on the notes it says for you to give a quick bio, is what I said, which is funny. So who are you, Sara?
My name is Sara Schlageter. I grew up in upstate New York near the Finger Lakes Ecclesia. I lived in Richmond, Virginia, and I went to the Chapel Ecclesia for 10 years. And last August, I got a midwifery job in upstate New York, so I moved back home and have been working as a midwife since the end of August. This is my first midwifery job.
Mm-hmm.
I was a nurse for like 10 years before I became a midwife.
And yeah, you made the switch to being a midwife. I know that, just full disclosure, I guess, for the audience, very intimately, because you were at the birth of my daughter, Pippa. So Thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you again for doing that. Almost 2 years ago. We've been friends for a long time. But I think you have an interesting perspective now at this time, with everything changed with COVID-19. And I want to hear about kind of your job and then how it has changed. So can you talk about what was your normal kind of day, week like? Like, what were some of the normal things that you did at the medical center, the birth center, or whatever you work at? Actually, yeah, shows you what I know. What was your normal week like before the virus?
Before. So I was actually thinking about this. My job has a really long orientation for new midwives, which is really great. That
makes sense.
Yeah. So I actually came off orientation, like the beginning of March. So I had about 2 weeks of working by myself before we started changing the way we work because of COVID-19. So it's kind of interesting, but I was obviously working just with another midwife, but before I would have 2 days in the office seeing people for obstetric care and gynecological care.
So that's like pre-birth kind of meetings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like women's health,
okay,
birth control,
right,
that kind of thing, annual exams. And then I did 2 12-hour shifts a week at the hospital, catching babies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And so the hospital and your office are those 2 different places that you go to, obviously?
They are separate, but the office is actually attached to the hospital. So it's one of those, I don't know, like lots of hospitals are like that, where they have a medical office building that's attached to the hospital. So one of the offices in one of the buildings is the women's center.
And then is it just normal, like what people are imagining, just like scrubs, I guess, in both places? Or what do you actually get dressed in? Because I think that's obviously changed, I guess, is what I'm pointing at.
Yeah. In the office, I would just wear like business casual clothes.
Okay.
And on labor and delivery, we wear hospital provided scrubs.
Mm-hmm.
So now I still wear business casual clothes to the office, but I wear a paper surgical mask and a face shield. So the paper surgical mask I wear from the time I walk in the office to when I am leaving. I usually take it off between the office and the car.
Right. Yeah.
And then I add a face shield every time I go in to see a patient in one of the exam rooms.
Okay. Wow.
So that's in the office. Yeah.
And then the same thing at the hospital?
Yes. Except that the face shield. So, in the office, the face shield kind of comes to just the edge of your face. In the on labor and delivery, the face shield that we wear comes all the way around behind your ears, and has an angle from your chin down towards your neck, so it prevents from splashing, I guess, basically in your ears or up.
Wow.
From the bottom.
It's all see-through. I mean, I guess, we're painting a picture, I guess, because nobody can see anything on a podcast. Yeah. But it's like a see-through cylinder almost around your head. It's pretty striking. You sent Jess and I a picture. It's very striking.
Yeah, it was weird the first time I put it on. It felt very strange. And like my like anxiety definitely spiked when I like got this personal protective equipment that we're supposed to wear. Because it just felt like, okay, this is like really real now. And also I wondered how I was going to be able to like take care of my patients, especially with the big face shield on.
Well, that's what I think about. I mean, as a parent who's been through this, you know, just the one time, just having the people in the room during your labor wearing, you know, equipment like that is not comforting.
Yeah.
Or a hindrance. It's a hindrance to comforting, to being comforting.
It's definitely a hindrance. And, you know, just even... So the big thing with the face shield on labor and delivery is that it really diminishes your hearing and your ability to speak to people. So I have to, like shout to be heard, and it's really difficult to hear. And with the addition of the face mask, especially with like communicating with like the nurses that I work with, that's much more challenging because I can't like even see that you're speaking to know that they should be hearing you, and they also have a face shield on, so you're trying to speak through two plastic helmets essentially.
Yeah, that's difficult.
Yeah.
Have you changed how you speak to the patients? I guess both in the office and then also on the floor, on the hospital floor.
In the office, not so much, except that I do, not always, but I do ask people like how they're feeling, like sort of referencing the virus, and I also talk to women who are close to their due dates. We talk to them about how things are different on labor and delivery, and what things they need to know about when they're coming in for their birth. On labor and delivery, like I mean, you saw me in a birth. I do a lot of like quiet, like whispering almost, like very like low encouragement, because being loud adds stress to the situation. Sometimes I have to speak firmly, but even then I try to keep my volume as low as I can. And now I can't do that. If I want to like say like good job, take a deep breath, I have to speak it loudly enough for the mom to hear me, which is a lot louder than I normally speak in a birth.
Right.
So, but I guess I never answered that. Now the big change in my job is that I, since the virus sort of hit Rochester area, I work from home 1 day a week now, doing telephone and telehealth video visits. So that's a new weird thing that I do.
And that's also got to be more difficult to connect with people. Again, I feel like so much of what you do is, yes, medical, but like very interpersonal.
Yeah, it is weird. Trying to connect with people, and also especially just a lot of medical care involves like putting your hands on people in various ways, and I can't do that obviously over a video or a phone call. And sometimes that doesn't matter, and I can still do the job I need to do, but sometimes it's not as easy for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, on labor and delivery, it's I'm finding it hard to like comfort people in the same way. And I also find like when I have this big helmet on, I don't know, I feel removed from the situation in a weird way. I don't know. I've done 3 births since I started, or wait, no, I think it's 4 now. I had a birth yesterday. I've done 4 births with an N95 mask, and the big plastic helmet thing on, and it just feels like I'm not in the moment or in the situation as much as I usually am.
Interesting.
It's weird.
Like it's more technical. I guess, I don't know, like you're just responding to, you're just giving the right answers almost instead of like feeling out the situation.
Yeah. And
does that make sense?
Yeah. And even just weird stuff. Like I don't know, like usually, I put like a plastic drape under a woman before she gives birth, and I just like didn't think to do that the other day, and it just makes everything messier. It's not like a big deal, but I was like, why didn't I do that? It's because I was just not like in the zone as much as I am, I guess.
Yeah.
Usually. It's weird.
Do you feel a different anxiety from your patients in this time?
It varies from patient to patient.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, I think, are more anxious. So the big difference on labor and delivery is now that all our patients are limited to one support person with them.
So what's the usual?
It's the father of the baby usually.
Okay. So I'm saying, but what's the rule before?
Yeah. Before that, it was like you could have whoever you want in there. I think technically we had a limit of 3 visitors in the room at once, but it was. Okay. I don't think I ever saw it enforced unless someone was being a problem, like right. a visitor was being a problem. We might use that as the reason, but it was never enforced.
And now they can only have 1.
Right. So that essentially the big thing that means is that there's no like sisters and there's no like moms of the right. laboring patient.
Man. Yeah.
And I do think at least one of the births that I've had, I think that if her mom had been there, she would have felt a lot more supported and more comforted. And I know that was her plan originally. And she was FaceTiming with her mom even like immediately after the birth and stuff. And
oh, wow.
Her mom was a lot more comforting than her partner was during the birth, which happens.
That happens. Nice way to say that. Yeah, and thinking about this, just when Jess and I went through our birth, we had so much. There's so much in this day that at least we did. We try to imagine and try to build a picture of what it's going to be like, for the year before, essentially, and then. This would be such, like many things, such a hardship for those mothers to then get here and now it's different. I can't have all the people I want with me. The nurses are all wearing, big masks on their face. It's like, it'd be a very different experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel bad trying to connect with people just like using my eyeballs, and even your coworkers, like sometimes it's hard to recognize people because all you can see is their eyes. I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting. Let's talk about. Go ahead.
I was just going to add that I've had a few patients ask about home birth options in the area because they just don't want to go to the hospital right now, too.
That's seen an increase in that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That would definitely be on my mind too. So how has this? What has this been like for your faith, I guess, professionally? So, in a way I was thinking about it actually is like your prayers. Like, what are some things that have added into your prayers?
Because this happened so close to when I started like working independently, a lot of it's the same. Like I just want to remain calm no matter what the situation is, which is true. Regardless of any pandemics going on.
That's true. Yeah. It's a good prayer no matter what.
Yeah. So that was something I've thought a lot about just since over the last 2 months, as I've come off orientation, I've been practicing by myself. So I guess it's just more calm.
Yeah. Because you're dealing with more.
Yeah.
Inside and outside.
Yeah. We have a lot of meetings that are specifically related to the virus. In my office, we often have meetings first thing in the morning. We call them huddles. And then every day, Monday through Friday at 5:30, we have an update with the department head of obstetrics. And I find those meetings very stressful. So it's been just hearing the things we need to expect to happen, especially 2 weeks ago when they were talking about, we expect a really big influx of patients in the next couple of weeks, and talking about trying to just mitigate risks to staff and patients. I tried to always be going for a walk when I was on those calls because otherwise it was just, and yeah, it was just too much. So I would take my dog Pepper for a walk in the wetlands near my house.
Wow,
And
I
that
mean,
is
yeah,
always centering, obviously.
yes, yeah, that helps. I just pulled up the cases in that county, Monroe, New York. I guess is the medical center is in the Rochester or near Rochester, Monroe County.
Yeah, that's where Rochester is. Mm-hmm.
There's like nearly 1,000 cases. It's over a percentage point of people for 1% of people. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
What about what are some fears kind of that you're still struggling with, or like it's personally and professionally?
Well, it's more personal, I guess, and you and I have talked about this already.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved in August. I don't have any friends here.
Yeah.
And it just feels like I'm never going to see anyone ever again. I have a nephew who's 13 months old, who I last saw in January.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a trip planned that got canceled by the snow in February,
right.
and then everything's canceled now. So
yeah, that's definitely been a different thing. Like we've been talking about that. Like you said, it's just what is the next item on our calendar that is going to hold?
Right.
You know, is it July? Is it August? Is it September? You know, when can you make a plan? Yeah, when can you make a plan that will hold?
Yeah, and it's hard when you're close with little kids because they change so fast, and if you don't see them, like you don't get that time back with them.
Right, that's very true. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's well, it's like anything, it's the not knowing. You know, if you knew that it was August 1st or June 1st, you know, or January 1st of 21, you know, we'd be able to handle it differently. But have you felt in your own faith, have you felt closer or further away from God, or like up or down, or through this?
Well, like one thing that I have found uplifting is like going to Zoom church. I actually really like it because I've been going to Schoolies Mountain, which is where my sister Maggie goes, and Jose, my brother-in-law, and I find their services really warm and welcoming and nice. So I'm like a temporary member of Schoolies Mountain right now over Zoom.
Right.
Which is nice, and just seeing I think my relationship with God is very much I don't know, like tied with is, I'm not sure if that's the right way to describe it, but it's interwoven with my relationship with other people, for sure, both in our community and without, but I guess primarily within our community. So it is nice to be able to connect with other people in other areas visually, which, you know, Zoom church is not a thing I normally did.
Right. No. Yeah, I think just this last Sunday, you know, we actually went to church on the 15th, March 15th, which we shouldn't have. Many churches had closed, but not kind of our ecclesias. So I guess, let me see, so we've had 4 Sundays at home. And it was just this last one that for me that actually felt like church in a way, like I've been uplifted. I think because for me, you know, and I felt like a service. I'd been doing different things, like I actually, you know, spoke at one. It's funny, I even spoke at one at a meeting before that, but that is always a very different Sunday. You know, you don't really take the time when you're presenting. I don't take the time when I'm presenting to really try to connect. So I've felt the same thing, that I think it's like we've made this transition now to these digital churches that is like, I think it's taking, does that make sense? Or it's like working for people now, at least for me.
After a few weeks.
After a few weeks, because the first couple are just so jarring, and again, hoping that, will this be over soon, you know? It's like... And
everyone had to learn to mute themselves. It was a whole learning curve for everyone.
That's true. Yeah.
Some people still haven't, but you know.
Yeah. So so I guess in your in your labors, in your your midwife work, it's, I guess you kind of never established a normal, for you,
No,
like,
not
and
really.
to then feel disrupted, you kind of just feel this is just a difficult thing, but you're still getting your feet under you anyways.
Yeah, more or less. Especially, at least at this, in this job.
Right.
It is weird when you're learning to be a midwife. At some point, you do, like, sort of have a practice of your own, but who knows when that point happened. Was it when I was in school? Was it at Pippa's birth? Who knows?
Right, right.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. That's what that's can be repeated. It is a very strange time.
It's true.
Have you had any other feelings of, I guess, connection from, like, do you kind of feel God or feel your faith growing or waning, I guess, at different times? You talked about loneliness, and then now you talked about kind of the online community, but is there any other things that have affected you?
I mean, in my job, there's, if I take the time to think about birth, I always feel a connection to God, for sure. It's just, like, it is a miracle to watch a baby be born, like, every time. And it's not always something that I actively think about, because I am thinking about other things as well in that moment, but yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And then a baby's born, like, it just is incredible. And just seeing the strength of relationships within a family, or the lack of relationships within a family, and the strength within women that have babies is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how they do it, it's amazing. And that is really that all comes from God, for sure.
So just that kind of being repeated in your life is still powerful. Like you said, you said you were at a birth yesterday.
Yeah. I was on labor and delivery yesterday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and a woman came in. It was her second baby. And she came in like maybe like 9 a.m. or something, 9:30. And I could tell she was having, like, pretty intense contractions. She was 4 centimeters dilated, which her doctor had checked her when she was in the office last week, and she was 4 centimeters then. But I could tell that so usually to admit somebody, you look for change in their cervix to indicate that it's like a real labor. But she came in and she wanted some IV pain medicine to help with the contractions. So she got that right away, and then I was, like, charting and in one of the call rooms, and then I got a call that first I got a call, like, you have to go to 460. And I was like, okay. And then immediately after that, I got a call on someone called the call room phone, and then someone immediately after that called the cell phone. And she said they had a baby in 460. So I go running. I was like, what? Okay. So I go running in there, and she hadn't had her baby yet, but she was fully dilated. And in one push, she had this baby. Like, literally,
oh, wow.
it was one push. Which is not normal. And it was okay, yep, this is what's happening. Yeah. It's unpredictable, and it's surprising, and it's still going on. No matter what's going on in the world, there's always babies being born, and so I have to keep doing my job. And she was, I think she surprised herself, and it was a really nice birth.
Remember we talked about this when Pippa was born, that 2 years ago, that lesson, it is biblical, like, how the return of Jesus is referred to as a woman in labor, or the time before the return of Jesus is referred to that, and because like you're saying, even in that story, just like you can never, science cannot tell you exactly when this is going to happen. Like there is a time, like then we get a time, like that my daughter was born at 6:28 a.m. Like we knew that exactly when it happened, just like there is a time exactly when it will happen that Jesus returns. but no one can tell you that exact time until it has happened. It's kind of very powerful about birth, like you're saying. Like you can see the signs, that this lady will have a baby. That's for sure.
Right, and at some point, like, because if you like further that analogy, thinking about when do you become parents? Like it was, I don't think it was 6:28, like a.m. that day. I don't, Jess was a mom before that, but when it's all mysterious and
interesting.
When is the earth ready? Like, we don't know.
That's interesting. Or when are we when are we members of the kingdom of God?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I guess we are stretching the analogy, but I like it. I like it. And that time and that timing, I like you're saying, it's like that timing is inexact. It's impossible to tell. Like in that story, and then other ones it's the other way around. It's like you could tell better, but there's all these signs that the baby's coming soon, and then there may be another 20 hours or something.
Yeah.
After that. So.
Yeah, and you never know when in a woman's pregnancy she's going to give birth. Like, not even, like, even before labor starts, there's, even for, like, a normal birth, like, that's considered full term, there's a range of, like, 5 weeks that's considered.
Right. Right.
That's a big difference when you're pregnant.
Yeah. That is a huge difference. I remember looking this up. I'm Googling it right now. Percentage of time baby is born on due date.
Oh, it's like 5%.
Exactly, 5%. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe that it's like, and then I think it's spread. I saw. I should have prepared this ahead of time, but I saw a scale when we were going through our pregnancy of like it's 5% on the due date, and it's like 4% the day after, and 4% the day after, and 3% the day after, and like it's like 100% is cut up over 5 weeks of days.
Right.
So you essentially have like between a 1 and 5% chance of having a baby every day for 5 weeks in a row. It's kind of like it's just like it's so impossible to make plans.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Just like now.
Yeah, totally. Just like I realized I said that out loud. It's like we can't. Yeah, we don't know when this will be over, and when we can make plans again.
When I'm talking to women about their due date, sometimes I tell them that your due date is almost always, what's the word I say? Well, it's always, I can't remember what word I say, but I always, I do say that it's almost always, not exciting. It's always just another day, because either you have a newborn and you're just like I got to take care of this baby, or you're just pregnant and then you're just, doing your life. So it's just
right. That's funny. Yeah, unless they're born on the due date, then
right.
it's a completely forgettable fact after the fact.
Right. It's weird.
Right. That's funny. That's interesting. Well, thank you, Sarah. This has been really great. I really appreciate the time talking with you, and these are definitely, like you said, weird times, but I think they really have a strong effect on us, faith-wise.
Yep. It's true. And someday it'll be the past. Someday.
Absolutely. Yeah. Someday it will be something we just, like the due date, it'll be forgotten in a way.